everyone, I'm Zoe. Thanks for joining us today. I'm here live with PaleoHacks, and today I'm going to show you how you can make sauerkraut at home. Sauerkraut is one of my favorite foods. I actually grew up eating it a lot as a kid because my grandma came from Germany. It is a really healthy food for your gut because there's like lots of good bacteria and probiotics in sauerkraut. And the good thing is it is really cheap and easy to make at home. But before we get right into it, can everybody hear me? I hope so. Let me know in the comments. Also, I want to give everyone a chance to join us. And I want to know where you're from. Let us know in the comments. Hi to everyone out there. Yeah, I hope everyone can join us. So, also, if you have any questions during the video, just feel free to ask us, put your question in the comments, and we will make sure, or try at least, to answer them after the video when the recipe stuff is finished. Before we get right into it, I thought I'm going to show you what we will need today. So, of course, sauerkraut is made from cabbage, so we will need a cabbage. You can use white cabbage or red cabbage, both work fine for sauerkraut. One of the important things is I recommend using organic produce because the fresher your cabbage is, the better the quality of your cabbage, the better the quality of your sauerkraut will be. It will taste much better. And also, in the supermarket sometimes you don't know how long it's been there, and if your cabbage is old, the likelihood of your sauerkraut going moldy is just much higher. So I always try to go to the markets and buy fresh sauerkraut there, or cabbage, and try to get organic products, so I will have the best end product. This is roughly 5 pounds. So today we will need roughly 5 pounds of cabbage and 2.5 tablespoons of salt. I'm going to use sea salt. I recommend using unrefined salt, so sea salt or Himalayan salt, because there are more minerals in it and it's not refined. What else do we need? We will need a chopping board. We will need a sharp knife, a big bowl, because you want to massage your cabbage. And then I'm going to use a so-called fermentation crock. This is a fermentation crock pot. If you don't have one at home, it's not a problem. You can use basically any jar, like this jar. I will show you in the end what you need to do differently if you're using a jar. This is a crock pot that I was gifted for Christmas. Actually, I'm pretty happy. I've used it a couple of times. It's really great. But I have made sauerkraut many times just using a simple jar, and it worked just fine. This is just a bit funner and it makes it a little bit easier because it comes with these fermentation weights. These are clay weights, and they will help compress the cabbage and keep it down in the crock pot, so it's covered with water at all times. I'll show you later and then it will make more sense. But if you want to get a crock pot, you can get these online on Amazon, on eBay. They're really easy to find. Simply type in fermentation crock or fermentation crock pot and they will pop up in Google. Okay, I think we can get started. If you guys are all ready. One of the most important things, and one of the things that often I forgot and a lot of people forget, is you need to make sure everything that you use to make your sauerkraut is sterile. So you need to disinfect everything. You need to disinfect the surface in the kitchen, your knife, your chopping board, your fermentation crock. You need to wash your hands, because if you don't, there's a little bit of bacteria. Your sauerkraut might get moldy, and that would be a shame, and it has happened to me in the past. So my tip, how I do it, because I don't want to use any chemicals, because if you use any chemical cleaners, your sauerkraut might get contaminated and we don't want that. So what I normally do is just I boil water in the kettle, and then just pour boiling water over all the utensils that I'm using, and I let it air dry. Because if you use a kitchen towels often, even if you wash them properly, they still have bacteria on them. So if you dry everything with a kitchen towel, you might reapply bacteria to the surface you're using. So what I do is I disinfect it with boiling water, and then I let it drip dry, and then you're basically good to go. So let's get started. As I said, I've got roughly 5 pounds of cabbage. You want to start by cleaning up your cabbage. So you get rid of all the wilted leaves, all the yucky parts, everything that looks a bit soft and not fresh anymore. Just peel it off and get rid of it. With organic products, of course, they might not look as good as supermarket produce, but I can guarantee you the taste will be better. So I'm just going to clean it up a bit. I will give it a quick rinse, just to be super sure. And then we want to bring our bowl close to the chopping board. This is a big guy. It's actually hard work. So what I like about sauerkraut is that I know these days it is a superfood, or it is called a superfood. And it can be very expensive. So if you go to the shops and you get a sauerkraut, one jar, depending where you live, might be $17, $18. I find that quite expensive. But if you're making it at home, so for example at the markets, I paid $4 for this cabbage, which is really cheap. And then salt is cheap as well. So it's really easy to make and not expensive. So I've just cut my cabbage in quarters to make it a bit easier, and now you just start chopping it. I like long strips because I like my sauerkraut stringy and long, but it really doesn't matter. However you want to chop it is fine. You can turn it into smaller bits if you prefer smaller bits. It's totally up to you. Once you've made it once, you will love it, and you will definitely make it again because it's so much more tasty than any store-bought sauerkraut. It is fun and it's cheap. So I'm going to transfer this into the bowl, and you will just continue chopping. This is the only tedious part. Lots of chopping. You can cut this bit off. Cabbage is a very healthy food in general. It has a lot of vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin K, a lot of vitamin C. It's a good source of iron and calcium, and not many calories, so it's really healthy. And then when you ferment it, the beauty of fermentation is that the fermentation process brings out the good bacteria, the so-called probiotics, which make it so healthy for your gut. And again, it's much cheaper to eat natural probiotics like sauerkraut and add it to your daily routine and your diet than going to the pharmacy and buying pills. Buying probiotics is so expensive. So I much rather prefer this natural approach, because you know what's going into your body. So like I said, I grew up eating sauerkraut as a child. My grandma did not refer to it as superfood. I think she didn't even know what a superfood was. She came from Germany, and sauerkraut actually comes from Poland and Germany. In German, sauerkraut means sour cabbage, pretty straightforward. And she would eat it every day. She just had a big jar in her pantry or her fridge and would eat it every day. And I love that. I'm very used to the sour taste and I like it. So we've chopped up quite a bit. This is a big bowl of cabbage. And I've also prepared another bowl because, like I said, this is a bit tedious and I don't want to chop it up in front of you because you might get bored. So the next step will be massaging our kraut, which is really fun. So all we're going to do is we will use our salt. Like I said, I will use roughly 2.5 tablespoons of salt for this whole lot, but I'm starting to add it in batches. I'll show you. So I'm going to add 1 tablespoon, 1.5 tablespoons. And now you need to get your hands dirty, basically, and massage the salt into your cabbage. By doing so, the cabbage will start to break down and release juices, and this is basically what starts the fermentation process. The salt breaks down the cabbage. It will make it really soft, and it will start to release all its juices, which we will later on need to cover the cabbage. The juices are called brine. And you want your cabbage, your sauerkraut, to be covered in brine at all times, because the brine will ensure the fermentation, and it will also make sure that nothing can get moldy. It needs to be covered in brine. So sauerkraut, like I said, is really good for your gut, because the good bacteria in your gut basically feeds on probiotics. So if you have any gut issues, and we know that a healthy gut basically is beneficial for your overall health, and if you want to feed these guys, just make sure to have a little bit of sauerkraut every day. I usually try and add roughly like 2 tablespoons to my breakfast. Whenever I have greens, I like adding sauerkraut. It's very tasty. So it's already getting softer. It's broken down a fair bit. If you're doing this at home, I would say massage it for around 5 minutes. You really want it to be very soft and juicy. Ooh, oh my God. The juicier, the better. So now I'm going to add more of the other cabbage. It's very messy. I'm making a bit of a mess here. So I'm going to add more salt. And continue to massage. If you've got a hubby, let him do the work. In our household, that's what normally happens. I prepare everything and then my hubby does the hard work and does the massage work. But it's also fun. You could do it with your kids. Kids usually love getting their hands dirty and getting their hands into food and learning how to make tasty food, how to create it at home. So eating sauerkraut will definitely aid your digestion. It can also improve your immune function. I think, don't quote me on it, but I think it's due to the vitamin C and also, again, due to the probiotics. The healthier your gut, the better your immunity. If you're joining us later, we are making homemade sauerkraut. I'm using white cabbage. You can also use red cabbage. It's just a different color really. It doesn't make a huge difference. I'm just continuing for a little bit and then I will start transferring it into the crock pot because I don't want to bore you. I won't massage the whole lot of cabbage because it will take way too long. I think you know what's going on and you know how to do it at home. So this is now really soft and juicy. You can tell when I pick it up. It's very juicy. This is how you want it. Okay. I will now quickly rinse my hands. Try and clean up some of this mess. It away. And now we are using the fermentation crock. As I mentioned earlier, make sure to disinfect everything. I have disinfected this with boiling water because I didn't want to use any chemicals because the chemicals might contaminate, not might, they definitely will contaminate your cabbage and you don't want that. You don't want any chemicals in your food. So transfer the cabbage into the crock. I will use my hands simply because it's the easiest way. If I use any tools, I'll just make more mess. What you want to do is compress the cabbage into the pot. And if you're using a jar, it's the same process. Just transfer your cabbage and press it down using your hands. It needs to be packed firmly. You don't want any air pockets. So if I had used all of the cabbage, I would fill up the whole pot, but for demonstration purposes, I don't want to keep you in front of your computer the whole day. We are not doing the whole lot. So, can we show the inside? It's packed down. It's compressed. This is how you want it. Press it down. then the most important thing are these weights, because they will make sure that, can we show how I put in the weights? They will make sure that the cabbage will be compressed at all times. So these clay weights come with the fermentation crock pot. I'll show you in a second what you can do if you don't have a crock pot or weights. I put them in like this and press them down. This is how it looks. And then I'm just adding the brine to cover the cabbage. And if you don't have enough brine, you can use demineralized water, or you can make more brine. Brine is basically just water and salt, and you top it up.
Why demineralized?
Because there aren't any germs in this water. So the brine has salt in it, and that's why it will keep the fermentation process going. This is how it should look. Okay, so again, if you have a fermentation crock, you want to put the lid on it, and then there is a little moat, and you want to put water in your little moat, because what the water does, it keeps the germs out, but it still allows the gas which is created during the fermentation process to evaporate. You will put this in a cool room, put it in a cool place, depending where you live. We're here in Australia, it's very hot, it's hard to find a cool room, but yeah, try to put it in a cool room. Leave it for a week. You can start trying it after a week. I like to leave mine for 2 weeks minimum before I even try it. And I think it's at its best taste after 3 weeks. So what's happening in the crock is it's fermenting. The sauerkraut will be broken down and change its taste. In the first week, you will smell a lot of strange smells. It's actually sometimes kind of disturbing. So don't be worried, that's totally normal, that's part of the fermentation process. It can also be a little bit foamy, so check on your kraut, make sure it's always covered with brine at all times. If there's not enough water, top it up. You can top it up every second day if necessary. Just keep checking it, make sure it's not going moldy or anything. What can happen is there can be a little bit of foam. That's totally normal, especially in the first week. Also, it stinks a bit, also normal, as cabbage does in general, and it gets worse during the first week. And then after 2 weeks, have a little spoonful, try it. If you like it already and it's fermented enough, then maybe it's the right amount of probiotics for you, and you already want to eat it. If you like it a bit stronger like me, then I recommend leaving it for roughly 3 weeks. Okay, what I wanted to show you is, if you don't have a fermentation crock, let's say you're using a normal jar. Let's assume this is already sauerkraut, but let's assume this is just fresh cabbage that we just massaged and pressed into this jar. If you don't have any clay weights, you can use a jar, and obviously you would need more cabbage, but then you place your jar into this jar and make sure it compresses the cabbage underneath, and through the compression it makes sure that the cabbage is covered with water, with brine at all times. So this is the trick that I normally use, and then I would cover it just with like a kitchen towel. You do not put a lid on it because the gas needs to evaporate. So you would just cover it with a kitchen towel. You can put a rubber band around it, that's fine, you don't need to. And then put it on your kitchen counter, or put it whatever in your pantry or somewhere where it can do its thing, and check on it every other day. and then after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, when you feel like it has the perfect sauerkraut taste for you, you can start nibbling it. One more thing, you will notice that I use green cabbage for this kraut. When it's perfectly fermented, it turns yellow, and if you're using red cabbage, it will turn pinkish. So this is how you make sauerkraut. Are there any questions?
Just where to purchase this demineralized water? Supermarkets?
So again, this depends where you live. This is actually the same water that you put in an iron, I think, to iron your clothes.
Or like radiators or something.
Oh, radiators, yeah. I bought it at the supermarket, but I'm based in Australia. It depends where in the world you are. It's usually in the supermarket
cheap.
Home section. It's really cheap.
What about distilled water?
I think distilled water is the same as demineralized water.
Yeah.
But you can
purified water.
Purified, yeah. Just make sure it's filtered. You could also use filtered water and like literally just add a little bit of salt, stir it, because that's what we did anyways with the cabbage. We added salt, it released its juices, and then the juice, the brine, is basically salty water, and it just needs to cover the cabbage at all times. Are there any other questions?
Nothing pressing.
I hope you give it a go. I hope you try making your own sauerkraut. It's really delicious. If it's a bit strange in the beginning for you and you feel like, ooh, this is a bit stinky, I think give it a go. You'll get used to it. You know, with a lot of things, healthy things, initially it might taste a bit funky, but you'll get accustomed to it and you'll love it. I can guarantee you'll love it.
There's generally different smells for each phase of the fermentation process.
Yes, like I said. So the first week, while the cabbage is fermenting in the crock pot, it will really stink. That's why I don't put the crock pot somewhere around the kitchen, because I don't want to be near it. We usually in our household put it in a room where, yeah, you can put it in your basement if you have one. If you're in Europe and you have a basement, that's perfect. In Australia, we don't have basements, so we use a storage room. I don't like the pantry because it stinks, and you don't want your pantry to stink. I'm quite sensitive to smell, so I don't like the pantry, but I put it in our storage room.
How long does it last in the fridge?
Oh God, it lasts quite long. So once it's finished, you drain it, so you get rid of all the moisture. You put it back in your jar and you put a lid on it. And then when you have a lid on it, you can put it in your fridge and you store it in your fridge. That's important. So only during the fermentation process, when it's simmering in its brine, you don't want a lid on it because the gases need to evaporate. But once it's done and you put it in the fridge, you just screw a lid on it. How long would it last? I think we usually eat it before it even has a chance to go off. I would say roughly, easily 3 weeks, even maybe 4. Yeah, like anything fermented. Think of pickles or other fermented foods. Usually they last forever in the fridge.
Which is a good segue. What's some other things you could put in the sauerkraut, like garlic or apple or chili?
I've never experimented too much. I have tried making a turmeric sauerkraut, or turmeric, and that works fine. You can just add however strong you want it, a teaspoon of turmeric.
Garlic works pretty well.
Garlic works, peppercorns work. What's another thing that works?
Apple.
You could try grated apple. I haven't, because I always want to make sure nothing gets moldy. I don't know why, but
anything's
experiment.
possible.
You can use carrots. That works fine. It's a bit like kimchi. Yeah, spices. Just experiment with spices, whatever you want to add to it.
Yeah. Cool.
Anything else?
No.
No? Well, there you have it, guys. This is how you can make homemade sauerkraut at home. I hope you give it a go. I hope you enjoyed this one, and you'll join us next time when we're live on Facebook, and have a good one. Bye.